Welcome back to Module 1.7. In this lecture video, we're going to talk about order operations with whole numbers. So before I show you order operations, I want to talk about this word called a term. This is an algebra wording. I want to go ahead and introduce it in this video. What is a term? A term is like an object. Okay. On paper, a term is a number. Any number that you see is considered as a term. Like 4, -7, and 8. A term is also a variable. All the single lettered variable, x alone, y alone, z alone, is considered as one term. Now, the definition gets a little bit tricky with this third one. A term is also a product of some numbers. The word product means multiplication. So what I'm saying here is a multiplication of some numbers is considered as one term. For example, 2 times 3. We know 2 times 3 is equal to 6. We know 6 is a number, so 6 is a term. Because of the multiplication between anything is also considered as one term, that make the 2 times 3 as one term as well. So it's kind of strange because if you really think about it, if I would draw a box, and inside this box, let's put a heart and the star. So inside this box, I have 2 objects. But if I would pick up this box, then what I'm picking up is only one box. Therefore, it's only one term. Even though I got 2 other things inside that one term, together, it's only considered as one box. So on paper or in algebra, what we're saying here is multiplication between anything is only one term. All right, same argument can be made for division. A quotient means a division between some numbers is only one term. I purposely wrote 3 divided by 4 as in fraction. So what I'm saying is 3 divided by 4 is a term, but I'm not saying every fraction is a term. Okay? Not every fraction is a term, but every division is a term. So how do we distinguish from one term to another term? I'll tell you, I'm telling you what one object looks like. Now how I distinguish between 2 different objects. And what we're going to use to figure out how many terms a problem has is using addition and subtraction signs outside the parentheses. Okay, that's the first thing we're going to be looking for. And these addition and subtraction signs always go with the terms that follows. This concept, you will need this concept when we go to Module 8. So how do we identify terms? For example, a 2 minus 4 like this one. You know what? I'm going to erase this real quick. A 2 minus 4, what I'm looking for is subtraction or addition signs outside the parentheses. So when I see one of those, that's 2 terms. What's in front of it is one term, and what's behind it is one term. So in Module 8, we will talk about this subtraction sign go with the term that follows. So technically, my second term is a -4. Okay. So just like if you will hold up 5 fingers, 4 spaces give you 5 fingers. If you look at your finger right now, it's 4 spaces, counting thumb as a finger. All right. So 2 objects. If you hold up number 2, a peace sign, that's 1 space. That's how you know you got 2 objects. So what occupy the space is these addition and subtraction signs. So if you read this problem, 3 minus, so I say the word minus. You don't say 3 minus -8. You say 3 minus, where's my cursor? 3 minus -8 plus, see this plus sign is outside the parenthesis, plus 2 times 3. So since I identified two addition or subtraction signs outside the parenthesis, that means I should have 3 terms. What's in front of it, what's in between the addition and subtraction sign, and what's behind my addition and subtraction sign. Okay, so this problem has 3 terms. So right now, when we do order operations, we're gonna break down our problems using the concept of terms. So in module 8, we will talk about these plus and minus signs go with the terms that follows. All right, the rules for order operations. I normally talk about the rules for order operation in 4 levels. The highest level is parentheses. Okay, we can also have brackets and braces. However, most of the people say do what's inside the parentheses first because brackets is actually bigger than parentheses. Braces is even bigger than both of them. So when you run into a problem like this, we will work from inside out. Therefore, you will still do what's inside the parentheses first. All right, the second level of order is any exponents. All right, third level, moving from left to the right, perform any multiplication or division. So the third level is multiply or division, which one comes first. And the lowest level, moving from left to the right, for any addition or subtraction. So if you have addition or subtraction signs that are inside the parentheses, bracket, or braces, you will need to do those first. So this 4th level is referring to addition or subtraction signs that are outside the parentheses, bracket, and brace. Okay, so let me show you how to do this from a different perspective. So for example, if you can read this correctly, then you should be able to do order operation correctly. 5 times 2 plus 4 divided by 2. So looking for addition and subtraction signs outside the parentheses. So I see 1, so that gives me 2 terms. What's in front of it is a term. What's behind it is another term. So here you go. This problem is now breaking down into 2 terms. So when we do order operation, we do operation of 1 term at a time. So my first term only consists of 1 operation. So I would just say 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, this addition sign is still outside the parentheses. My second term is 1 operation. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Therefore, my answer is 12. So if you break down problem like the way I'm showing you, you will never make mistakes on or you will never violate the order of operations. So a lot of times students violate order operation without even knowing they violated. All right, let's continue. Oh, that's the same one. I'm sorry. All right, looking for addition and subtraction signs outside the parentheses. So if you can read it correctly, you will know exactly how many terms you have. 5 minus 5 divided by 5 times 4. So I'm going to use this subtraction sign outside the parentheses to tell me how many terms I have. So what's in front of it is 1 term. What's behind it is 1 term. So my first term is 5. There's no operation in that term, so I still have 5. All right, still subtracting sign right there. My second term has 2 operations. So as you can notice, whatever I'm highlighting, okay, is actually one term. Multiply or divide is one term. So this is a third level. So from left to the right, we'll do it accordingly. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 1 times 4 is 4. So this problem now just become 5 minus 4, which is 1. Okay, we break it down into terms. All right, this is a very interesting one. Looking for addition and subtraction signs outside the parenthesis. So 4, if you read this problem from left to right, 4 times 4 minus. This minus sign is outside the parenthesis. I use it to separate between my terms. Minus, parenthesis, 2 plus 1, whole thing squared. So this subtraction sign here, what's in front of it, got to be one term. Whatever is behind the subtraction sign got to be one term. All right, so let's take a look at my first term. My first term in yellow, only one operation. So 4 times 4 is 16. All right, the subtraction sign still there. Second term. My second term has two operations. What's inside the parenthesis is addition, and then I have an exponent on the outside. So if I do what's inside the parenthesis, that will give me a 3. All right, and the exponent is on the outside. So 3 squared is not 6, it's a 9. Be careful, 3 squared means 3 times 3. So this problem is really just 16 minus 9, which will be 7. Okay. All right, let's take a look at some of these more complicated ones. All right, looking for addition and subtraction signs outside the parenthesis. If you read this, it's 14 plus 4 squared divided by parentheses, 6 minus 2, close parenthesis, times 3. So there's only one plus sign outside the parenthesis. So whatever is in front of it is one term, and whatever is behind it is one term. So all these is one big term. All right, nothing to do in my first term. There's no operation, so 14 still 14 plus. All right, there's a lot of stuff going on in the second term. I have an exponent, division, I have a parenthesis, and what's in there is one operation. And then I also got multiplication here. So let's do this from left to right accordingly. A lot of the time students say, well, you got to do what's inside the parenthesis first. That is true, okay? And the reason why I'm going to do 4 squared first here is most of y'all know when you do 6 minus 2, this is going to be just a 4. What's inside the parenthesis, because this is only one operation here. So 4 squared is 16 divided by 4. And I don't need to put the 4 in a parenthesis because this is only one operation. So if I put parenthesis here, it doesn't really mean anything. And then times 3. All right, so this is still my second term. I'm not quite done yet. I need to figure out what my second term is going to be before I worry about the plus 14 on the front. So now 16 divided by 4 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So my second term turns out to be 12. My second term turns out to be 12. All right, plus sign still there, 14 still up front. So the last step, this problem just now become 14 plus 12, which will give me 26. Okay. All right. Figure out what is going to be, what's going to be the answer for each term before we add them or subtract them accordingly. Now, this problem is interesting because there's no plus sign or minus sign outside the parenthesis. So technically, everything is one term. But what we can do is look inside the bracket. Between the two brackets, how many terms do I have inside? Between the two brackets, how many terms do I have in the inside? So, looking for addition and subtraction signs outside the parenthesis that's in the bracket. So that's plus sign here, plus sign here. So that means what's in front of my first plus sign is a term. What's between the two plus sign is another term. What's behind the plus sign is another term. So this problem has 3 terms inside the bracket. So let's do one term at a time. So bracket still there. Square on the outside. So first term 3 still 3, no operation in that term. Plus, second term is 1 times 1, which is 1. Plus, this plus sign is still here. The third term has no operation, so it is still plus. All right, so let's add them up, what's inside the bracket. So this is going to be 6 in the bracket. Now the square on the outside, 6 squared, is 36. 6 times 6, 36. Okay, very interesting problem because there's actually, the whole problem was originally one term. So now we got to look inside those brackets or parentheses to see how many terms are inside, so we can do the operation accordingly. All right. Again, this is the same thing. There's no plus or minus signs outside the parentheses. So technically, this whole thing is one term. So let's look a little bit deeper. All right. Inside the parentheses, there's a lot of things going on here. I got a plus sign right here. I got 2 plus signs. So in the parentheses alone, there's 3 terms. What's in front of the plus sign, what's in between the 2 plus sign, and what's behind this plus sign is also one term. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Let's figure out what each term is. So this 2 still 2 times parentheses still there, squared on the outside. This first term in the parentheses still 3, plus second term no operation still 3, plus. All right, third term in the parentheses, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, still got to do what's inside the parenthesis. So that's 2 times parenthesis, 3 plus 3 plus 2, 6 plus 2 is 8 squared. All right, so now, according to order operation, I got to do exponent before I can multiply. So 8 squared is 64. So now 2 times 64, that will be 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 6 is 12. 128 is my answer. Okay, break them down, break them down. All right, again, this problem, everything is one term because there's no, the whole problem is one term because there's no plus or minus signs outside the parenthesis. So this time I got 2 different parentheses. So let's check out what's inside of each one. The first parenthesis, what's in there is 1 plus sign, so that's just 2 terms. And each term does not have any operation. All right. Second parenthesis, what's in front of the plus sign, what's behind the plus sign. Okay, got 2 more terms there, but no operation in each term. All right, so we can go ahead and just combine them. So parentheses still there, square on the outside, that's 16 divided by 10 plus 6 is 16. I'm just going to write this 16 without parentheses because it's coming out of the parentheses. The reason why I kept the first 16 in the parentheses because I got a square on the outside. All right, so do square. By the way, square exponent is just time itself so many times. Okay, so if I will write 16 squared this way, let's see what you think. If I write 16 times 16 divided by 16 like that, according to order operation, can I take this 16 in the middle divided by the last 16 to get a 1, and 16 times 1 give me 16 for answer? All right. Think about that. Now, let's do it the right way, okay? Maybe the answer is the same. All right. 16 times 16. Order operation says you got to do this from the left to the right because multiplication division is on the same level. So if I do 16 times 16, 6 times 6, 36. Carry 3 on my finger. 6 times 1 plus 3 is 9. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. So that's 256. Now the 256 will divide it by 16. So the answer is kind of like 16, isn't it? Because I just do 16 times 16 to get 256. So when I divide it by 16 again, all right, 16 going to 25 one time. If I subtract, let's see what happens. 15 minus 6 is 9. This become 1, not a 2 anymore. Bring down. So this is a cool thing. I don't think I ever show y'all this in other video before. Do me a favor. Think of it this way. 6 times what number ends with a 6? On the multiplication table, 6 times what number ends with a 6? 6 times 6 ends with a 6. 6 times, 6 times 6 ends with a 6. So you can try. That's how we know. That's how some students know what number to try first, is by thinking about it. If I try 6, 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 plus 3 is 9. So the answer is 16. So back to my question earlier. Could I take the 16 divided by 16 first, then times the 16 at the front? Okay. So think about this way. Okay, I'm going to gear away from this. If I have 4, let me think of this way. If I have 12 divided by 3 times 4. Kind of same idea. Can I do 3 times 4 first and say that's 12, and then take the front 12 divided by my new 12 and get a 1? The answer is no. No, that's actually wrong. Okay, so how come this problem my answer is the same? According to order operation, okay, multiplication division is on the same level, so we got to do those from left to the right. So this problem here I just wrote on the left side here indicate that. By the way, most of y'all can kind of see, if I do left to right, 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 4 is actually 16. The answer is 16, not 1. But how come here we get lucky? And here's the reason why. In Module 2, we will talk about division of a number. Division of anything means times the reciprocal. The first 16 still there, times the second 16 still there. Okay. Division of a fraction, because 16 whole number is considered as over 1. Division of a fraction means times the reciprocal. So that's the same thing as saying times by 1 over 16. So now I just turn my division of a fraction, because 16 divided by 16 means divided by 16 over 1. So division of a fraction means times the reciprocal. Therefore, I just turn this whole line into multiplication. And according to associative property, I can multiply any two numbers first of my choice. That's why if I will multiply 16 with 1 over 16, that will give me a 1 times the 16 in the front will still give me 16 for final answer. And so that's legit. It's not legit for this 12 divided by 3 times 4. Okay, it's two totally different problems. So, best thing to do in this module, multiplication, division on the same level, do them from left to the right. Addition and subtraction is on the same level, do them from left to the right. All right, so let's take a look at this big old division problem. Gotta be careful how we look at this one. There's no plus sign or minus sign anywhere, so everything is one term, but I got to look closely what's inside this bracket. Here's the bracket. In the bracket, there is parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis, there's one operation. Okay, so once I done what's inside parenthesis, bringing inside the bracket, I gotta then divide it by 4. So real quick, what's 8 divided by 1? 8. What's 8 divided by 4? 2. So the bracket, what's coming out of the bracket is a 2. Now, division, this division sign, still there. 1 still in the front of it. Division sign in front of the 1, and the 14 in front of the division sign. All right, so I quickly figure what's coming out of the brackets, which is a 2. So now, do it from left to the right. 14 divided by 1 is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. My answer is 7. Okay. All right, 2 more. A little bit more complicated this time, because now I have one subtraction sign outside the parentheses. So technically this problem has 2 terms. This is the first term, and whatever is behind the subtraction sign is 1 term. So my second term is actually quite big, because I got brackets and I got parentheses in there. So let's look inside the bracket. Inside the bracket, there's a subtraction sign. So I got 2 terms in the bracket, a 10 and whatever is behind the subtraction sign, which is my entire parenthesis. So first term in the bracket, still going to be 10. So let me write the bracket first. Bracket still there. Divided by 1 still there. First term in the bracket is 10. Subtraction sign still there. Now let's do what's inside this parenthesis. So within this parenthesis, there's a plus sign. So that separates between 2 more terms in that parenthesis. So 1 times 3 is 3. 3 plus 3 will be 6. So what's coming out of the parenthesis is a 6. All right, let's finish off the bracket. What's 10 minus 6? What coming out of the bracket is a 4 divided by 1. That was actually originally in my second term. So the second term is a 4. Okay, subtraction sign still in front of the second term. 8 still at the beginning. So my final answer, 8 minus 4 is 4. Okay, just looking at it a little bit differently. All right, very similar to the previous one. Plus sign outside the parentheses and brackets, separate between 2 terms. So my second term is big. Oh, this is a lot of parentheses. All right. Double parenthesis here. Okay, so just look at the bracket. From bracket to bracket, there's no plus sign or minus sign. Okay, so inside the bracket is one term. Now, look on the outside parenthesis. There's a subtraction sign here. Tell me 4 is one term in the parenthesis, and 1 times 3 is another term. Okay, so if I do the most inner parenthesis, that's a 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So what come out of the outer parenthesis is a 1. Division still in front, 7 still in front of that, bracket still there. So my whole second term is actually 7. Okay, let's do this again. Let's check this out. Give me a cursor. All right, originally I would look at bracket to bracket, and all these things inside the bracket, there's no plus or minus sign. So inside the bracket is one term. The outer parenthesis, the next layer is look at the outer parenthesis. Inside of that, there's a subtraction sign. So 4 is a term. 1 times 3 in the second set of parentheses is a term. Okay. So I do the most inner parenthesis, which is 3. Now, 4 minus 3 is the 1 I wrote right here. So you might wondering, why don't Mr. Chen write every step? Here's the reason why. If I write every step, that means I am asking you to write a lot of things. Because this whole problem, if you really think about it, the very first thing that we did was, let me move this down, see? The very first thing we did was inside that most inner parenthesis. Watch this. 4 minus parenthesis. 1 times 3 is 3. Parenthesis, parenthesis, bracket, right? Now, the next thing we do is the 4 minus 3. So that's 18 plus bracket, 7 divided by 4 minus 3 is 1 bracket. So now let's do a division inside the bracket. So that's 18 plus 7. So I'm keep on writing down, okay, all the things I need. All right. So the more I write, the more, the easier I get confused and making mistakes. Okay. That's the reason why I didn't write as much as compared to other teachers. All right. Second term is a 7. Remember now, this problem originally have 2 terms. So the plus sign is going to be in front. Plus sign is still here. First term is still 18. So 18 plus 7 is going to be 25 is the answer. Okay. So hopefully, if you like to write down a lot of steps, that's fine. I just want to show y'all how you can look at order operation from a different perspective. Okay. So we are not always violating the order operation. All right. That will conclude this lecture video. Thank you for watching.